So the title of this classic book pretty much says it all, doesn't it? First, break all the rules. It's a pretty radical idea that the absolute best managers out there aren't the ones following the corporate handbook. Nope, they're the ones who toss it out the window. In this explainer, we're going to dig into exactly which rules they break and, more importantly, why it works so well.
But let's kick things off with a question that really gets to the heart of the whole problem this book is trying to solve. Think about it for your own work, your own company. What are the things you know are massively important? The things that really drive success, but that you just can't seem to put a number on? Because, as we're about to see, not being able to measure the right thing can be, well, catastrophic.
To really get a sense of the stakes here, let's jump in a time machine. Picture this. It's a foggy night, way back in October 1707. A huge British naval fleet, the pride of the entire nation, is sailing for home. But they don't get taken out by an enemy fleet. They're defeated by something way more basic. Just really bad data.
So what was the fatal mistake? It all came down to longitude. The admiral in charge knew his east-west position was absolutely critical for avoiding these super treacherous rocks off the coast of England. But here's the thing. Back then, there was no accurate way to measure longitude when you were out at sea. He had to guess, and his guess was dead wrong. The result? A complete disaster. Now, the key takeaway here is that the tragedy wasn't caused because he didn't know longitude was important. It was because he couldn't measure it.
And that brings us right back to today. The authors of this book argue that so many modern companies are basically sailing in their own foggy seas, facing their very own longitude problem. They know something is vital for their survival and their success, but they're just fumbling around, struggling to measure it.
So what is this modern-day longitude? It's the actual strength of your workplace. I mean, we all hear it, right? People are our greatest asset. We know that getting and keeping the best people is how you win. But how do you actually measure if you're any good at it? How do you know for sure if your company is a place where talented people thrive or a place that can't wait to escape? That's the problem.
Okay, so this is where the big management revelation comes in. The Gallup organization basically decided to solve this problem for good. They set out to create that missing measuring stick, the tool that pretty much every business desperately needed.
And they did not mess around. They went big. They started by surveying over 1 million employees. That's not a typo. 1 million people across all kinds of jobs and industries all asked the same basic question. What do talented people actually need from their job?
But they didn't even stop there. They also did these really in-depth interviews with over 80,000 managers, from the absolute rock stars to the just okay ones, to figure out what the great ones were doing so differently. This was and still is the biggest study of its kind ever.
So, after crunching all that data, what was the one huge, powerful discovery that jumped out? It was this. A talented person might come work for you because you have a cool brand or you offer great pay and perks. But whether they stay and whether they're actually productive, that comes down almost entirely to their relationship with their direct boss. The manager is the key.
And here's where it gets really interesting. When they looked at these amazing managers, they found that they all shared one thing in common. It wasn't their age or gender or even their personality type. It was that they looked at all the sacred, traditional rules of management and they threw them right out.
So what are these rules they're breaking? The book boils it all down to 4 key areas where great managers completely flip conventional wisdom on its head. Let's dive in.
Okay, rule number 1, how you select people. Now, conventional wisdom says you hire for experience, for a specific skill set, for that perfect-looking resume. But the great managers, they don't do that. They hire for talent, those innate recurring patterns of thought and behavior. They know you can always teach someone a skill, but you can't teach them to be naturally driven or empathetic.
All right, next up, setting expectations. Your average manager tries to control everything by defining every single step of the process, micromanagement. But a great manager does the complete opposite. They define the outcome, what success actually looks like, and then they get out of the way and trust their people to use their unique talents to figure out the best path to get there. Now this might be the most famous insight from the whole book. Conventional wisdom is totally obsessed with fixing our weaknesses. Just think about any standard performance review you've had. It's almost always focused on what you need to improve. Great managers, they kind of just ignore your weaknesses. Instead, they pour all their energy into identifying and building on what you're naturally good at. They want to make you more of who you already are.
And finally, there's development. You know the old model, push everyone up the same rigid career ladder, often promoting them right into a job they're not good at?
Well, great managers know that the next promotion isn't always the right move. Their goal is to find the perfect role that fits a person's unique talents, helping them become a superstar right where they are, instead of setting them up to fail in the next role.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like day to day? Well, let's meet a guy named Michael. He's a top restaurant manager from Gallup's study, who is basically the living embodiment of this whole rule-breaking idea.
What made Michael's approach so different was how incredibly personal it was. He totally rejected that old idea that fairness means treating everyone the same. Instead, he really invested the time to get to know each person, their style, what motivated them, what was going on in their life. He understood that he couldn't fundamentally change who they were, so he never wasted time trying to fix their flaws. His whole philosophy was about individualization.
I mean, this quote from Michael just sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? He saw his job not as trying to mold people into some kind of perfect employee clone, but as creating a place where each person could be more of themselves and use their natural gifts to be brilliant. He didn't want a team of clones. He wanted a team of amazing individuals.
So what this all really boils down to is a huge shift in your mindset. You have to stop thinking of your job as being a corrector, someone who's there to find and fix flaws. And instead, you have to become a cultivator.
Think about it like this. A great manager believes the talent is already inside a person. Their job isn't to try and install things that were, left out at birth. Their real job is to draw out what's already in there, to discover, nurture, and find the right place for the unique talents that are just waiting to be unleashed.
And that really leaves us with one final big question for you to think about. It doesn't matter if you're a manager or part of a team, or really just how you deal with people in your life. Look at what you do. Are your actions all about trying to change people into something they're not? Or are you focused on finding and growing the incredible, unique talents they already have? According to the world's greatest managers, the answer to that question makes all the difference in the world.